students, welcome to this session on Linux. Here you will learn about Linux, its features and architecture. Linux operating system was developed in early 1990s by Linus Torvalds, a student at the University of Helsinki. Linus Torvalds started developing Linux to create a system similar to Minix, a kind of Unix operating system which was very popular in early 1960s and was mainly used for servers, workstations and mainframes. He developed the kernel of Linux and enhanced it with the help of Free Software Foundation. Even now, it is developed collaboratively as no one company is solely responsible for its development or ongoing support. Linux is open source operating system. It was released under general public license, which means it is free to use and its source code is freely available for downloads. Even changes can be made to its source code to create a new version for self-uses or for further distribution. It is distributed freely under a GNU General Public License. The license is designed to keep it standardized while making it free. There are more than half a dozen Linux distributions such as Debian, Red Hat Enterprise, Fedora, Slackware, Ubuntu, and many more. There are a number of characteristics which make Linux a very strong operating system. The first one is that it brings speed, flexibility, and efficiency of Unix supported systems to personal computers. Its functionality list is almost similar to Unix operating system. Secondly, it is freely distributed multitasking and multi-user operating system. Since it is open source software, its source code is freely available and it is community-based development project. So multiple teams are working continuously in collaboration to enhance its capability. Anybody can freely download it and then can distribute it further after making changes or without making any change. Secondly, it is multi-user operating system because multiple users can access system resources like memory, RAM, application programs at the same time. And multitasking means multiple applications can be run at the same time. Linux operating system is portable. By portability means software can work on different type of hardwares in same way. Linux kernel and application programs support their installation on any kind of hardware platform. Linux supports hierarchical file system in which system and user files are arranged in a particular hierarchy. This helps in arranging the files in a better way. Linux also provides shell, which are also called command interpreter program. They are used to understand commands given by the user and then pass those commands to kernel for their execution. Bash shell is the default shell of Linux. Linux commands are case sensitive, which means if user enters who am I in capital letters in place of who am I in small letters, user will receive a command not found message. As in the previous characteristic, it is told that shell understands the commands given by the user. If the command is not matched as they are stored in the shell, then this message is displayed to inform the user that there is no such command supported by the shell. Another feature is the security provided by the Linux operating system. Linux operating system provides security and protection in three ways. First, by authenticating the identity of the user. It does this by assigning login ID and password to the user. Second, by authorization. There are ways to assign permissions to read, write, and execute files and directories. Third is by encryption. Here user have the facility to convert a file into an unreadable format, and at the destination one can decrypt the file. So this way security is very strong in Linux operating system. Linux also supports live CD or USB. Users can run or try the operating system without installing it on the system. That is, they can run their Linux operating system from CD or USB port, USB device plugged into the USB port. Linux also supports graphical user interface, though by default it comes in command line format where commands are given as a text, but it can be converted to graphical user interface by installing packages. It also supports different language keyboards, means multilingual keyboards are supported by Linux operating system. Linux has also a very strong and very reliable software repository from where users can download and install many applications just by issuing a command on shell. Just like Windows operating system supports the downloading of many applications which can be run on Windows environment, similarly Linux supports many softwares and applications which can be downloaded as and when required. The architecture of a Linux system includes four major layers. At the base level, hardware layer works. Hardware includes peripheral devices like random access memory, central processing unit, hard disk drive, terminal, and many more. At the second layer, kernel comes. Kernel is considered the core component of Linux operating system. It is loaded into main memory when system is booted, means started. And then kernel communicates directly with the bare machine called hardware. This kernel is a software. It routine includes many routines which are written in C language and provides low-level services to upper layer components, that is shell. Performs basic functions like memory management, process management, device management, and file management. The four main functions of any operating system. The main task of kernel software is to optimize the uses of the hardware while running the required programs and satisfying the user's requirements. Above the kernel comes shell. Shell becomes interface between the user and the kernel. It hides complexity of kernel's functions from users. Because kernel is the core component, it interacts with the machine, it has the knowledge of the machine, it knows how the machine works. But user does not need to understand the working of the machine. User just gives commands to the shell. How shells comes into existence? First user logs in By giving username and password, Linux operating system authenticates it and then starts the shell program. It is called command line interpreter as it takes commands from user. That's why it is called interface between the user and kernel. And then it passes commands to kernel for their execution by invoking the corresponding function of the kernel. Now, these are the steps ki how shell works. When shell comes into existence, it issues a prompt. At the prompt, you can see either dollar symbol or hash symbol. Dollar is for ordinary user, hash is for super user. And then it waits for the command to be entered by the user. After understanding the command, if command is given in a correct way, then it invokes the kernel for its execution and waits for the command to get completed. And in the meantime, user cannot do any other work while the command is running. After the completion of the command, the prompt, whether it is dollar or hash, reappears and it is said that shell is ready to accept the new command. From this diagram, you can see user interacts with shell. Shell interacts with kernel and kernel interacts with machine. After interacting with machine, it gives results back to the shell. Shell gives results back to the user. There are various types of shells available, but the default shell for Linux is Bourne again shell called bash. Shell can accept commands one at a time, or a user can write commands in a file and can give collection of commands to the prompt at the shell prompt. The text file that includes collection of shell commands is called shell script. And they are executed in the similar way as if individual commands are executed. The next component is tool and application. Whenever any operating system is written, it includes the routines, how to do the memory management, process management. But beside that, there are so many other functions also. You must have seen browsers, databases, compilers, Office. Such tools and applications help any operating system to extend its functionality. Similarly, in Linux operating system, various tools and applications are installed which help in extending its functionality. Such tools and applications reside on computer's hard disk, secondary storage device, and they are brought into memory when a request is made. Already told, browsers, compilers, databases, Office suite, all these are considered as tools and applications. Besides this, various utilities can be installed on your system to perform specific tasks like data backup, compression, disk management, and all these tools, applications, utilities, they enhance the basic capability and functionality of the Linux operating system. This is architecture of the Linux system.